All right, here we go. Well, good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you may be. Looks like I'm streaming to nobody right now, but hopefully some folks show up in a few minutes. So welcome to my stream. I've been wanting to do this for quite some time. I was going to do some YouTube videos, and then I get analysis paralysis as I make a video and edit it. And so I figured, what the heck, why not just go live and just let it fly? So here I am. The point of this stream is I wanted to do something around cloud native and just start building some cloud native applications on Azure. I'm a cloud solution architect at Microsoft, and so I want to, just see what we could do, kicking the tires with the platform. And so I thought a really good place for us to start would be to see what we can do around a social media platform. There's been a lot of news around Facebook and Twitter and Parler over the last couple weeks with everything that's been going on. And, especially, let me cut over to the desktop here. So if we take a look at this right here, obviously big tech kicked Parler off the platform. AWS kicked them off their platform. And so Parler's been trying to find somebody to host them. And it's kind of insane the specs that they're looking for here. Nobody really knows how many daily active users they have. It's in the millions. Scott Hanselman says 8 million users. And so Corey Quinn, famous AWS consultant, cloud consultant, did an estimate on this and came up with just the i3 metal and the traffic, the egress traffic, would probably be around on the upper end of $300,000. And so this whole thing would cost them roughly about $500K a month, give or take. And that's all with bare metal and running their own platform. They said that they try to avoid as much AWS specific components as possible. And that may or may not have some consequences into how much money they have to spend in order to host this thing. And so what I thought was, let's just see what we can do in Azure, but instead of trying to avoid specific cloud services, let's go all in and see, if we were to use things like Azure Functions, Cosmos DB, API management, etc., what we could do and get something working. And then, obviously boil that down to, it's going to cost us, $5 a month per user to host this thing. Hopefully less than that, but, we'll see. So I thought, a really good place for us to start would be to kind of talk about some of the motivations and, start laying down the framework for what we'll build over the course of this stream. I'm thinking today's probably going to be, a fairly short stream, just kind of laying out some of the foundation for what we want to do. And then as we start getting into it, the streams will probably get longer and obviously, hopefully a little bit more exciting. I'll also probably work on this not streaming and then maybe review some of the stuff that was done off stream, sort of like a code review type thing, and go back and catch everybody up on that. Now, even though I am a cloud architect at Microsoft, I don't spend my entire day writing code. In fact, that's actually a very small fraction of my time spent. So, I'm not necessarily up to date on all the latest and greatest trends in development and all that. So definitely appreciate any input that you have as we start getting into different areas and aspects. Open to all feedback, and that's all very welcome. So with that, let me switch over to the whiteboard, and let's start drawing. What we think this thing's gonna look like here. All right, so for hosting, we're gonna put all this stuff out on GitHub. This is my nice little Octocat. So we're gonna put the code on GitHub. For the builds, let me start with tooling here. Tools. So that's where the code will go. For the builds, we'll use GitHub Actions. Seems like the appropriate thing to do. For the mobile apps and doing the builds and distribution of all that, I'm thinking we'll use the service called App Center. So this is a service offered by Microsoft to basically do builds and releases of mobile applications. You can release it into the app stores. It also does analytics and crash analytics and metrics and all that. So that seems like a good thing. So that's it for the tools. For the IDE, we'll do a combo of Visual Studio and VS Code for that. And so I think that's it for the tool set. Now for the application itself, what we're gonna do is the mobile app. Do this. So mobile app. So for the mobile app, we'll do Xamarin. And that's just because I'm a recovering C# developer, and so Xamarin's a very natural fit for me. And so this will get us our iOS and Android applications. Those are the two target platforms. For the web, I'm going to put the web on the back burner for now. So we're going to hold off on that. But when it comes to that, I'm thinking, Blazor would probably be a good candidate for that. And the reason for that is because, the C# code that we use for the Xamarin apps for the mobile side would probably be able to fit very nicely over in the Blazor web app side. And so I think, that will make a ton of sense there. Now, as we get into the back end, server side, what I'm thinking is we're going to front everything with Azure API management. So this is API management. And that will call into a series or be a facade for a series of Azure functions. That's my attempt at drawing a lightning bolt. It's kind of hard to draw on a surface that's standing up. I may have to rethink this. All right, so as we keep moving forward or backward into the stack here, we're gonna have to store some data. And so if I'm starting out in building a cloud native application that has to have the scale of something like a Twitter, or Facebook, or Parler, the thing that I'm going to choose is Cosmos DB. This thing is absolutely amazing and will give us the scale that we need should this thing that we build kind of take off. Let me right up here, Azure Functions. And we got API management. API. All right, and then we'll need something to store assets like images, videos, etc. that are uploaded. And so the natural fit for that will be blob storage. So we'll do blob for this. And trying to think if there's anything else. I mean, that's a pretty good start. We've got our mobile app, server side, data store, and assets and all that. Now, we'll probably want to front some of these things with some sort of CDN. So, yeah, that's a question mark for right now. You know, what do we do about the CDN? I'm thinking maybe not Azure on this one. I'm thinking something like Cloudflare may make a good choice. So CDN, you know, maybe Cloudflare. We'll see. For accelerating the APIs, I think, you know, we'd probably want to front that with you know, Azure Front Door. I think that would make good sense. Front Door. And that's specifically, the CDN down here is specifically for blob. So I think from a high level component standpoint, that's what we're gonna wanna create. And all that. There's obviously gonna be some more tools in here. I've been playing around with some really cool GitHub actions for doing things like versioning. So we'll probably figure out, you know, how we roll that into here. Also, you know, testing. We'll have to figure out what we want to do about testing. You know, both static code analysis, dynamic analysis tools. So we'll get that worked in. But I think that's it. So let me jump over to my desktop. And get my mouse up there. All right, so here's our good old specs for Parler. Now I ran across this article actually a little bit earlier, and it's a really good read. So I would certainly recommend this to you. But it's likening Facebook to a doomsday machine. If you've got 10 minutes to read, it's probably about a 10-minute read, maybe a little bit faster. You know, it's a good good article, and it gives you a lot to think about as, you know, if you're starting from scratch and you're building out a social media platform, you know, what decisions you make along the way, and the decisions that Mark Zuckerberg made as he was going, and, you know, what it led to. So, like I said, this is a good read. I'll post it into the chat in the event you want to take a look at that. So there's that. All right. Get rid of this. All right, so let's jump back over to the whiteboard. Actually, I'll pull this up. We'll do it in Notepad. All right. So our goals for today. So I think the goal for today is, one, let's get the repo created in GitHub. Build out some of the mono-repo structure. 3, maybe we'll create a baseline Azure function. And then 4, create the shell of the Xamarin mobile app. All right, we'll set that for the goals for today. We'll see how far we make it, and I don't know, we'll go from there. So this is something I created just as I get tired of whenever I create a repo, I have to create a git ignore, a editor config, folder structure, and all that. So I actually created this init git PowerShell command. And what it allows us to do is you can initialize a Git repo using either a local folder or even a existing repo out on Git. So here's my repo where I actually have this PowerShell module, which you can grab from the PowerShell gallery. Put that in the chat here. And once you have this installed via this install module command here, what you can do then is run, if you had a repo on your local machine that was set up as a template, you could do an initialize git path to the local folder, and that will copy everything that's in that folder over into the new folder where you're initializing your Git repo. Alternatively, you can actually use GitHub repos. So what I ended up doing was I went out here, and if I look at all my repos, I've got somewhere in here init git template. So I've got a couple different branches in here, .NET branch and just a general branch. And so what I can do is come over here, see where we are. Okay. We'll just call this Twitch for now. So now I can say initialize git repository. So I can say this branch, just say general. I think I need all right, so what it did was it actually went out and it basically pulled down what was in my general branch out here. It pulled all these files down, and so now if I come over here and I do an ls, you can see we've got an editor config, a git ignore, license file, and a shell of a readme file. So I can open up code, and we'll see all those things here. So we've got our editor config, git ignore, our license file, and a just a generic MIT based license README file with just different sections in here. You can just easily create your own. So you go out, you can create a repo, put your own files out there, and then do exactly what I just did, and it'll just save you some of that tedious tasks of setting up new repos every time you need to do that. All right, so let's research some mono-repo structure. I know this is all the rage anymore. Scalability, atomic commits. What I ended up doing, so I usually do, docs, put my source out here, and just do put some git keep files out here. Source I'm not too concerned about because we'll be actually putting some source out here. I would love to hear some people's opinions of mono-repo structures. What's worked for you, what hasn't. If we think back to our whiteboard here, we're going to have a mobile app. We're going to have a bunch of Azure functions representing the backend. We're going to have probably some miscellaneous code, either Azure Resource Manager templates for deploying the infrastructure as code. Maybe some code here to build out the Cosmos DB, whether it be scripts or something else. And then eventually the web app. So, how do we think about structuring the mono-repo to accommodate all these things and allow for appropriate versioning and building and releasing? That's definitely something I would like to hear some feedback and opinions on. Well, let's keep going on building this thing out. So the first thing we're going to do is, where are we? Going to source. So probably what I would do is, just build this out here. Doing a terrible job with my capitalization. Let's just make everything lowercase. All right, and then for our docs, it's, we know we're not going to have anything in web for now, so we'll put that there. Probably not going to have anything for templates today. But mobile and API, we'll definitely have something. All right, so we sort of get in there. All right, so here's what I'd like to do. Let's create a mobile app. We'll do that first. And then we'll just create a very generic Azure function that has an API, and we'll be able to call it from the mobile app, and we'll call that a day. Now, actually, I don't I don't know that I have emulator on my machine, so we may not actually be able to do that, but we'll see. All right, so you could do this via the command line, but we'll be spending most of our time here in Visual Studio, so I'll just fire this thing up. So we're going to create a new project. Of course, things running very slowly. Literally have no idea what's going on here. Oh, this is so like you, Visual Studio. Come on, you can do it. There we go. All right, so let's go ahead and start with our mobile app. I'm gonna choose Twitch, source, mobile. May have to do some finagling with this. All right, so I'm gonna call this thing, I wanna call this, call this Open Mobile. I don't know what we're going to call it, but we'll just do this for now. Just want a blank. My machine is extremely unhappy right now. All right, so we've got our shared project template, our Android project, and our iOS project. It's always a good thing to just do a quick build, make sure everything starts up fine. So let's just do a quick rebuild of our solution here. I should say I'm not a mobile developer by any means, not a designer by any means, so this thing's going to be pretty ugly to begin with. If you are a designer and want to contribute to making this thing look good. And by all means, your help is very much appreciated. All right, so what do we get here? Oh, still going. All right. So while this is going, why don't we take a look here? So I like to use Prism library for doing any Xamarin apps. I started using Prism back in the day, back in the Silverlight days. I mean, Silverlight was a thing, and helped build a application in Silverlight using Prism, and it was actually really nice. Fell in love with the MVVM pattern, model view model, and the whole binding, the notion of binding, which is really incredible. So, Xamarin Forms here. What's your first app? I know they've got this this template thing. I'm more of a purist. I like to create things from scratch when it comes to this. But let's see what we got back over here. Rebuild all succeeded. All right, so what we'll do is we'll get Prism added in here. Manage new get packages for solution. So we'll do Prism. There's a Prism Forms. I like to go with the dry IOC version of this. So let's go ahead and get this installed. What kind of updates do we have here? Xamarin Essentials. I will upgrade that. I love that they're the Xamarin team's including Xamarin Essentials now. That's awesome. It's one of those things where you pretty much install it anyway, so might as well just include it in the framework. I think I also, while we're here, because we're definitely going to need this, the Xamarin Community Toolkit. Pull this in. Might as well just do it right now. All right. No updates. Okay, so that looks good. Let's go ahead and give it another rebuild just to make sure everything's fine. So we'll have to upgrade. Wanted to go to 11. Kind of jumped the gun on me there. I don't know what's going on here. Gives this thing a rebuild. Actually, while it's going, might as well get a means of sending my Android phone to the to my desktop. Actually, I think I can do that with your phone. I know that I want to show you all my messages though. Yeah, let's not do that. Apologize, I should have had this ready to go. This visor looks good. You gotta pay for it. Javier. This guy. Javier's got a repo out here. Awesome Xamarin Forms where he's got a good list of lots of different packages and tools. I thought I saw in here screen mirroring, AirDroid, Visor, Time Player. Looks like Visor's it. Windows. Let's get this thing. To install Visor on my phone. Okay. So here's the app. My PC. Next. Connect your Android. tell me visor connected. Wow, that's pretty slick. Sweet. Can close this. Awesome. All right. So that wasn't too bad. Cool. So we got that ready to go. Let's just fire this thing up, see if it works. And then we'll start working on getting Prism integrated. And then once we have Prism in there, we'll create a Azure function, run it locally, and then try to hit it. I think if we get that working, that'll be a good stopping point for today. And then what I'm going to continue to do is keep researching, what a proper mono-repo structure would look like, and see if we can get that squared away. Hey, Scott. You're in there? How you doing today, Scott? I think you might be the only one out there. So happy to have you here. I'm doing great. Aside from the cold, and the snow and all that, I'm doing pretty well. I saw you got a stream as well. I followed you back. So excited to see what you're doing on your stream. All right. So looks like our application's up and running. So that is a good thing. So let's work on getting Prism enabled in here. Now, the first thing I do is I will just add my folders in here and start getting things organized. So we know we're going to have views and models. And then I'll put my main page in the views. And then you have to go out and readjust the namespace here. By the way, Scott, how's the volume of the music? Is it too loud? Not loud enough? Just right? Okay. How's that? A little bit better? All right, so gotcha. Yeah, I'm trying to adjust all my my audio and get it dialed in. Appreciate the feedback. All right, so the first thing we need to do is import our namespace for Prism here. And so we're going to say, call this Prism. And I should probably also increase my size here. Maybe. Let's try to make it a little bit easier. All right, so we gotta import our namespace here, and then we're gonna convert this thing from just a plain old Xamarin application to a Prism application. And then we have to come over to our code behind and whack this. And then get rid of some of this stuff here, which I don't even think we need this anymore. I don't think we use those. We do need to override a this is partial anymore either. I always forget how to set this thing up. Partial app. Let's see what happens when we build this. Yeah, this is always the fun thing. Getting this set up. I think... Actually, I might already have. Scott, are you working on anything cool? Any streaming that you're doing of anything cool right now? Can't remember if I... Prism. Partial app. I'm just gonna snag this. Might as well. And we'll just go ahead and kill all this stuff here. Oh, that's awesome. Just wrote a speech-to-text app that listens for specific words and commands and posts to Twitch chat. That's awesome. I'm assuming you use Lewis for that? I'm gonna unload and load this back in. For some reason, I had issues in the past where Visual Studio doesn't like to pick up this change going from a regular Xamarin application to a Prism app, but unloading it and reloading it seems to do the trick. Lewis. Oh, so Lewis is L-U-I-S. Stands for Language Understanding and Intelligence Service. So it's really cool. You can you basically train a machine learning model, and it's offered as a service, which is really nice. So you go out and you give it a bunch of phrases, and what you do is you then train it, and you basically map the different phrases to what are called intents. And based on that, Lewis will look at some, whatever phrase that was sent into it, and it'll be able to pick it apart and say, oh, the user said, I need help with this. So that maps to the help intent. And then, you can take action on that as an application developer. It's used significantly in doing chatbots. So, if you're writing a conversational AI application, this is one of the bedrock services that you would use. Like, I'll put the link out here. Yeah, brute force, right on. Yeah, you do brute force or regular expressions. Lewis definitely takes it up a notch in that it does a really good job of fuzzy matching. And so if you don't get the phrase exactly right, it'll be able to pick it out. And it'll also give you a score here. So it'll tell you, like, my confidence that this was the actual intent that the user had is, anywhere between 0 to 1. So, I don't know, check it out. It might be useful to you. It's certainly cool. I've helped a lot of customers in my role at Microsoft do a bunch of bots. And so it's pretty slick. Yep, right on. Sweet. So it looks like we've got this building now, maybe. Build failed. What are we failing on? Cannot resolve application. What do we got here? This is like the hardest part of getting Prism added. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna go nuclear here. Do this. This works. What are you yelling about here? I'm going to create solution templates that are set up the way I normally create my solutions. Yeah. Something's not jiving here. It doesn't like what I have. Maybe because I just deleted everything. Close. My machine is running really poorly too. Might not like my streaming. Doesn't like this. Prism application. Oh, it's Prism application. Dirt. That'll do it. And now everything will just magically work. Come on. Snag this. Get rid of this. So I snag this. You know what? I wonder what version of Prism do I have in this one? I've got 8. Okay. What do we have? What? Yeah, this is definitely not right. Oh, no. It's this thing. Grab that. So open. We need this namespace. That may now work. Duplicate override. Yeah, so we need to give this a main page. Down here we need to, so let's start fleshing this out a little bit. Let's do a class, so let's say main page view model. It's public. We're going to inherit from observable object, like spell, comes in from the Xamarin Community Toolkit. And what I like to do when I'm doing this, so Prism exposes this navigation service, which allows you to say, you know, what page or path you want to navigate to. And so what I like to do is create my constructor here that accepts the navigation service, and then tucks it away here. Acted. Do this. And so now in all of our within this view model, we'll be able to get access to this. In fact, I usually, let's just do this now. We'll call this base. Let's create a base view model. So we'll do snag this, pull it over. Hey Jay Ritz, seeing you out there now. We're here with Coding with Scott. Welcome to the stream. All right, grab this, do that, and then we can get rid of all that stuff here. We need to move this over here. Inherit from that, and now we'll inherit this guy from this. And the only thing we have to do here is do our navigation service. All right, so now within our main page view model, we'll have access to that, and all future view models that inherits from this, we'll be able to do navigating within that. So that's good. All right, so let us jump back over here. I still don't know what's going on with all this, but what we do need to do is within this container registry, so we're setting up dependency injection here. We need to say register for navigation, and we'll set up the view, main page, and our main page view model. And so that's what allows Prism to know when you navigate to main page, it's going to basically just do matching against the name of this view right here, this page, and then it's going to do the dependency injection automatically for us and makes our lives much easier. We can actually make this a little bit better, and we'll do some name of main page. That way, if we ever change it, that'll get updated there. All right. Let's save everything. I'm really confused about duplicate override modifier. Initialized. Do we not need that anymore? What's this yawn about? Start. Okay. Is that all we needed? Oh, was that? That's what it was yelling about. Ah, look at that. Rebuild worked. Let's get a rebuild of our app going. This will take a minute or two. Scott, do you do development for a living, or you just do it for fun? Nice. I started .NET back in the day with VB.NET, and then it's probably about 2005 I switched over to C#. So I've been doing .NET for a while, but I don't get the program as my primary function anymore, so kind of miss it, and I use opportunities like this to get my hands on a keyboard and sling some code. All right, so theoretically this should build, and should be able to see it come up. VB.NET, that's right. Before that, I worked at a job and was doing VB6. So when .NET came out, VB.NET was the natural progression, and then I had a job that needed me to do C#, and it's a very nice language. So I've been sticking with that since. What's awesome now is you can write .NET for everything: mobile phones, IoT devices, server side. I mean, it's amazing. All right, so this is working. Let's do something just to test our model binding here. So I'm gonna stick a label out here. Let's get rid of this. It's fine. Say text binding. Let me just say message. Right on. Yeah, the amazing thing with cloud, just in general, is you could be one person in a garage or a guy on a Twitch stream with one person following, and building something that would take on the likes of Facebook and Twitter and all that. So it's really incredible. All right, so we're gonna create a string message. Okay, the private string message here. And set property wrap message value. Let's do so we'll give that a try. All right, here we are. So here's the message. So it looks like the model binding's all working. So that's excellent. All right, so let's just, for today, we'll add a button on here and just say make API call. Command. All right, so now we need to come back over here. And yeah, we should probably make that an async command. What did I call this? Call API. We can do this. Invoke command. In our namespace for the task library. And we'll just call this thing execute invoke API command. And then we need to set this up. Invoke equals async and this. So we're basically just setting this up, and then since I'm not, I'll do sync here. I'll fix that. So I'm going to do 2 + 1, make sure this is working. Set a breakpoint. All right. So here's the app, here's our button, and it looks like that's working. So cool. All right, so let's organize this. We'll add a solution folder. Let's call this mobile app. We'll move these projects in here. And let's create a new one. We'll call it APIs. Create a new project. So create an Azure function. Open. Call this API. Let's do profile, because we probably need some sort of profile API. We'll do an HTTP trigger somewhere in here. 3 HTTP trigger. Perfect. All right. So let's switch over to this. We'll make this the startup project. We'll just fire this thing up, make sure it builds, and start up okay. Starting up the storage emulator. All right, so here's our function. To invoke this thing, I actually really like this extension in VS Code. We can just say get. So it's this REST client. I used to be a Fiddler person, and then I started using Postman, and I got tired of waiting, minutes for Postman to start up because it's a Electron app. And so I switched over to this extension. This thing is so nice. You can come down here and we can say this is an HTTP file. And then you just model this out as if, you know, just like a raw HTTP request. And then you can click send request and boom. So this is working. So I love that. You know, if this was a post, you know, you would do this. And then if we had to say, you know, we're sending JSON, do this, location JSON, and then just, you know, foo bar, and then send that. And this will still work because it accepts both get and post, but I love this extension. All right, so this is working. Let's see. Let's just return. Let's return a model. Let's do new solution here. Let's call it shared for our solution folder. And we'll say new project. Class library. Open models. Great. So let's just change this to profile. And we'll just throw some stuff on here. So we'll say public, string, username. Display name. That should be good for now. So I'm going to use JSON.NET for the serialization. So we'll just add this to everything. That's safe. And copy. Right. Sure. All right, so let's just go ahead and turn a new profile here. Oh, I need a reference. And then down here. I'll be able to use this, resolve this. What is going on? Open. Oh, it's because of this. Okay. So we'll do using models profile. This thing up. Let's try hitting it again. Ah. All right, so we're up and running. Get. And there it is. All right, so the goal now is for us to make this call on the mobile app, and we'll just see if we can display this on the mobile app side, and then I'll commit everything and push it out to GitHub, and then probably call it a day. So, do I have ngrok? Yes. Awesome. So I'm going to have some trouble hosting this function on my local PC and trying to hit it from my mobile phone. So ngrok is basically a reverse proxy that allows me to expose my local machine out publicly. So all we need to do is say HTTP to port 7071, and we should be in good shape here. So we'll say ngrok HTTP. So now it's going to give us this URL here. So this is still running, and technically I should be able to change this to this and still get the same result. And there it is. Awesome. All right, so let's get this service called on the mobile app side. So our view model. Let's just go ahead and create a new folder here for services. And what I want to do, new item. Call this profile API service. Make this a class, or sorry, interface. And I want to use, there's a library called refit. Kind of want to use this for making the API call. So let's just snag this. Need to add refit. add this to the mobile. I think we need to add it to all of them. I'll just add it. Pull that in, pull this in, profile, pull that in, we'll call this, get profile, user ID. So why don't we come back over here? Actually, our models, string ID, let's create a mock ID for now. We'll say, good old GUI generator. So that'll be my ID. So we'll say here, if, let's change this route. So we'll say ID, and I'm not a big fan of having these being static. So we'll say get profile async. And I also like doing this. Oh, name of so let's say, and then we got to put a string here for ID. We're going to get rid of host. All right, so we're going to get, basically the root will be the ID, and then functions will pull that out of the route, put it in here, and then we'll say if, let's do this, mock ID equals ID. Turn this else, turn new not found. Just say ID equals ID. So I need to get this now. Let's start this up and just play around with it. See what happens. Scott, do you use Azure Functions at work or at home? Maybe you built your Twitch command thing using functions. Cool. So there's that. And if we change this to something else, Yeah. Yeah, the nice thing I love about Azure Functions is the ability to code everything reactively, right? So you can respond to events. So you'll see as we get further down the path of building this thing out, with Cosmos database especially, it's really powerful where you can write messages into Cosmos DB, and on the backside, Cosmos has what's called it's called a change feed, and you can actually trigger Azure Functions based on changes into your database. And so, I used to be really big into the CQRS and event sourcing patterns, kind of go along with domain-driven design and all that. But it's really useful because, if you think about things in like a stream of events, especially here with this app, if you think about like Twitter or Facebook, it's a extremely read-heavy type of workload. And so one of the architectures we may come up with in building this thing out is, a user posts a new message and, they have a certain number of followers. So that write into the, we'll call it the outbox, would then trigger a function that would say, hey, let me look up, all the users that should receive this message, and then put like a pointer to it within the inbox of those individuals. And so super awesome from a reactivity standpoint. You can also automate Azure itself, which is awesome. So, I helped the customer. They wanted to set up something called private endpoints to make public PaaS services get joined into a virtual network within their private IP space. And so one of the ways you could do that is say, hey, when a new private endpoint is spun up, you basically have to create a DNS entry to associate the private IP address of that private endpoint for, SQL DB to a DNS zone that would be able to map that. And so one of the ways you do it is via Azure Functions to say, hey, new private endpoint was created. I'm going to respond to that via a function and go out and create the appropriate DNS entry. And it's amazing. Yeah, you done REST APIs with web apps? Yep, solid choice. All right, so we got this working, right? That came back not found. If we change this back to a 7, that returns fine. So this is all working. So this is good. So now we need to come back over here. Stop this. Close this. Profile service. So we'll call this API / user ID. All right, and then forget all the steps we have to do to set this up. We need a REST service for, okay, cool. So come over here, and we need to go back to here. And so in our types, because we're setting up our dependency injection here, we can say container registry, this probably should be an instance. What do we call that? Profile API service. All right, so it's going to ask us for our instance here. So we're going to say this using refit. And instead of that, we're going, we'll plug in this. So here's our root host name. And then it'll be /API/user ID, which gets us back to this. So it should work. So let's make sure we're getting this injected into our view model here. Right? So that should work. Now what we want to do is file API service, get profile. We'll just hard code this for now. Figure await, false. We don't need to continue on the calling context thread. Our profile response. Forget. Oh, so this is just a whole kit and caboodle. All right, so let's change this. Instead of message, we'll say username. Call this display name. And then let's go back here. Excuse me. And we'll say get profile. And then let's get rid of all this formatted text here. Let's just get rid of all this. All right. So we'll say text. For this, we'll say binding username. And then we'll add another one here. We'll just copy this whole thing. We'll call this display name. And hear about that. Okay. So we'll click the button. It'll make an API call out, should return back, and then we'll have it update username, display name, and then I think we'll be good. So how do we marshal this back on? In forms. I forget the property for that. What is that? Scott, you don't do any Xamarin development, do you? Or do you? Device, that's what it is. Nice. Yeah, it's a different world doing doing front-end work. There we go. That's what I'm looking for. All right, so this will get us back onto our UI thread, which will allow us to update our display name and username. If you have any questions about, what's going on here, feel free to ask me. A lot of this can be foreign if you spend a lot of your time doing, back end versus front end. I'm dangerous when it comes to Xamarin. I know my way around okay enough to get myself into trouble. But because of my history of doing Silverlight a long time ago, I know the MVVM pattern pretty well. So, all right, so this should all work, hopefully. Let's set our startup projects. Start this. Start that. Gotcha. Yeah, we'll get to Azure probably the next stream that I do. We'll start looking at doing creating some infrastructure as code for the APIs and Cosmos storage accounts and all that stuff. So first couple streams I think are going to be pretty slow because we're laying down the foundation. Once we get something built up, we'll be able to iterate quickly and make some really good progress. So let's see what we get here. Chugging away. So while this thing is chugging, you heard me mention inbox and outbox a little bit earlier, thinking about how we're going to be sending the messages. So there's actually a formal spec called activity streams. Activity streams. Is this right? Yep. This might be the old one. But so this spec basically defines a like a model for a social media type application. And so what I did was went through and modeled it out fairly well. It's not 100% to spec, but it's out here. Should be activity streams. Activity streams. So I did this a while ago. Yeah, 2 years ago. So we'll probably use this as sort of like the starting point for doing a lot of the model type stuff. For communication back and forth between the mobile app and the back-end functions. All right, so that's going. And did I not update? I thought I updated this. Username. Oh yeah, that's fine. All right, so if we see this, and this quality is really terrible. I have to figure out how to make this quality a little bit better. So anyway, if I click Get Profile, let's see what happens here. There it goes. So it went out, hit our function. We'll see the invocation right here. Get Profile async. And then it came back and updated our view once it assigned the values to those properties on the view model. So cool. I mean, this is all working, which is great. And this is kind of the point that I wanted to get to today, is sort of just get the baseline stuff laid down and configured. So I think we're probably at a natural stopping point. What I want to do is create a new repo out here. Why is this not having me signed in? Should have been. I'm in. That'll explain it. Here I am. So we'll call it new repo. New. Just call it open social. 10 out of 10. Well, thank you, sir. Thank you for sticking with me, getting the Xamarin stuff squared away. All right, so stop this. Status. And you know what? I bet my get ignore is pretty bare. What do we have in here? Yeah, this is probably not gonna be good. Yeah, lots of stuff. All right, so I probably should have started with that .NET template that I had out there. So we'll say Visual Studio, Visual Studio Code, Xamarin Studio. I think .NET's out here. .NET? No. Windows, Mac. All right. Scott, when are you going to be streaming next? Do you have any time frames? I'd like to join you. Yeah, I know how that goes. All right, we'll reinitialize this bad boy. Up all the debug stuff. Might have to let's just do this for now. I'll sort all this stuff out. You don't have to watch me for that. Close this down. We'll just nuke all the... oh, I put it in the wrong spot. I'll have to shuffle this stuff around. Okay, this is good. All right, so I'll just nuke all the bin and... It's the one that was causing all the grief. Yep. Good having you, Scott. Look forward to joining you on your stream. Have a good night. That looks better. Oh. Yeah, that's fine. All right. So got this all working. All right, nice and clean. So we'll push this up to GitHub. Main. Cool. All right, there it is. All right, so we got our repo created. Or to build out the mono-repo structure, may need to tweak that. Well, in fact, I do, because some of these files got put in the wrong spot. Created a baseline Azure function, and we created a shell of the Xamarin mobile app. So let's think about next time. So next time, probably switch gears a little bit and maybe publish. We'll create the Azure function in Azure to deploy the function 3 modify mobile app to call the function. And then 4, we could start getting into putting API management. We'll introduce API management, put that into the line of the path of calling the API from the mobile app. And then maybe a stretch goal is introducing, create a Azure AD B2C tenant. Maybe hooking that up to API management for doing authorization. Auth-C and auth-N. I might be pushing it, but might be doable. So with that, I appreciate you sticking with me through all this, and I look forward to seeing you on the next stream. If you find this useful and want to be along for the ride, make sure you subscribe, and I look forward to seeing you. All right, take care. Have a good evening.